Al-Jaafari affirms the need for Israel to join the Nuclear Arms Non-Proliferation Treaty. President Putin says the convention of the Geneva II conference on Syria is a success for the world community as a whole. A number of Jabhat al-Nusra as well as non-Syrian terrorists are killed during operations by the Syrian Arab army in several areas. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our news for today. Syria's permanent representative to the UN, Dr. Bashar al-Jaafari, has stressed that Israel has continued to ignore UN resolutions that have called for its withdrawal from the occupied Arab lands and for the reinstitution of the Palestinian people's rights. During the meeting of the First Committee of the UN General Assembly's 68th cycle on nuclear arms, Al-Jaafari called on the international community to pressure Israel to join the Nuclear Arms Non-Proliferation Treaty and to subjugate its nuclear installations to the supervision of the International Agency of Atomic Energy.
Delivering Syria's word at the UN Security Council, Syria's permanent representative to the UN, Dr. Bashar al-Jaafari, has affirmed Israel's disregard of UN resolutions for more than half a century of its occupation of Arab lands. During a UN Security Council session dedicated to the situation in the Middle East, Al-Jaafari pointed out that the Israeli-Qatari collusion with the fundamentalist terrorists who wreak havoc in the UN disengagement force area in the Golan revealed the identical policy of both sides and their schemes against Syria and its people, as well as against the safety of the forces of the UN itself. Al-Jaafari criticized the false accusations deliberately leveled by certain delegations in order to serve their own project in support of terrorism and extremism in Syria and the region in general. He pointed out that the main objective for which the provision the state in the Middle East was introduced was to exclusively discuss ways of ending Israeli occupation of Arab lands, not to discuss the internal situation in the countries of the region. Al-Jaafari stressed that in order for the UN to preserve its credibility, certain well-known states should end their double-standard policy through taking effective measures that would compel Israel to abide by UN resolutions. In his word before the First Committee of the UN General Assembly's 68th cycle during its meeting held on nuclear arms, Al-Jaafari stressed Syria's support for the world tendency to build an international society free of the use or the threats with the use of force, whether such force involves nuclear or traditional weapons. Al-Jaafari noted that Israel has never been a signatory to any treaties and agreements that govern the prohibition of the proliferation of nuclear arms. He stressed the need to hold a conference on setting up a zone free of nuclear arms and all other weapons of mass destruction in the Middle East and to pressure Israel to take part in it as it is the only nuclear site in the area.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has considered the convention of an international conference on Syria as a success for the world society as a whole. In a ceremony during which he received the credentials of some states' ambassadors in the Kremlin, the Russian president stressed the need to settle the crisis in Syria through diplomatic, peaceful means. What is more important, Putin added, is that Russia's stand about the need to settle the crisis in Syria diplomatically has won the understanding and support of the majority of countries. The coordinator of the UN and the OPCW joint mission, Sigrid Kaag, in charge of supervising the implementation of the UN Security Council's resolution on dismantling the chemical weapons in Syria, has stressed Damascus' full cooperation with the inspectors. In a statement issued in Damascus yesterday, Kaag said, quote, "The Syrian government completely cooperates until this hour to support the teamwork of the OPCW United Nations Joint Mission, which investigated 17 sites for producing and storing the chemical weapons." Unquote. She considered that time is a challenge as far as the target is to eliminate the chemical weapons in Syria in the first half of 2014. Welcome back. In Damascus, 2 citizens were wounded by 2 mortar shells near Sheraton Hotel launched by terrorists. In the city of Jaramana in Damascus countryside, 5 citizens were wounded by mortar shells launched by terrorists who targeted residential areas. A police source said that the mortar shells caused heavy material damages to public properties in Al-Rawda neighborhood. Another mortar shell targeted a house near the main square, causing material damages. In Daraa city, Syrian Arab army destroyed a network of tunnels dug by terrorists to infiltrate into secure neighborhoods. The army units confiscated stolen medical equipment and other materials. The Syrian Arab army foiled a terrorist attack on the National Hospital in Daraa, chasing terrorists near the refugees camp and al-Assad road, destroying a number of hideouts and killing dozens of terrorists. In Al-Hirak and al-Sura towns, army units targeted terrorist gatherings, destroying a number of motorcycles and killing scores of them in the city of Tafas. The army killed the terrorist leader of the so-called al-Yarmouk battalion. In Daraa western countryside, the Syrian Arab army eliminated a number of Jabhat al-Nusra terrorists, including different nationalities from Chechnya, Saudi Arabia, Libya and Tunisia. In the city of Homs, Syrian Arab army units eliminated all the members of different terrorist groups in Jurat al-Shayyah and al-Qarabis neighborhoods near Khadija al-Kubra school in Al-Qusur, in addition to the towns of Mhin and Hawarin near Ad-Dar al-Kabira in Al-Rastan. The Syrian Arab army also destroyed a convoy of vehicles loaded with heavy machine guns and carrying terrorists and ammunition in Syria Tel site in Al-Sha'ir mountain in Palmyra countryside. Syrian Arab army units pursued terrorists infiltrating into Sadat town as they killed many terrorists, injured others and destroyed their cars loaded with weapons in several areas in Homs province. An official source told Sana that a Syrian Arab army unit gunned down terrorists who infiltrated into Sadat town, reaching At-Talla neighborhood, killing many terrorists and injuring others, in addition to destroying their weapons. Syrian Arab army eliminated terrorist groups and destroyed a number of cars loaded with ammunition and weapons in Idlib and Aleppo countryside. A military source said that dozens of terrorists were killed in 3 villages in Aleppo eastern countryside. The source added that military operations resulted in destroying terrorist hideouts and missile rocket launchers, in addition to mortar shells and big quantities of ammunition. In Idlib, Syrian Arab army unit eliminated an armed terrorist group near Saraqib city and destroyed cars loaded with weapons and ammunition. In Iraq, a series of terrorist attacks carried out by extremists and suicide bombers on police checkpoints in the governorate of Anbar, west of Iraq, killing 28 people, mostly from policemen. Iraqi police said that a suicide bomber driving a tanker bomb attacked Al-Ittihadiyya police checkpoint on the main road in Anbar near Al-Ratba, as another suicide bomber driving a car attacked another police checkpoint. At the same time, gunmen attacked a police station in Al-Ratba, while another suicide bomber blew himself up on a crowded bridge near the area. In Turkey, anti-Erdogan protests were renewed as demonstrations broke out at the Middle East Technical University in Ankara, protesting a road in the middle of university campus. Riot police used water cannons to disperse demonstrators who gathered at Istiqbal Square. Also, clashes erupted between security forces and dozens of protesting students as bulldozers took advantage of the holiday and the occasion of Al-Eid to break into the university campus under the cover of riot police, intending to uproot about 3,000 trees in order to open the road. Back Back to our local news, the Ministry of Social Affairs, in cooperation with Damascus Governorate, has distributed more than 3,600 school bags to pupils in Damascus in areas suffered from terrorist attacks. The move aims at encouraging pupils to continue their academic education and attracting those who deserted schools to come back. The Minister of Social Affairs, Dr. Kinda Shammat, affirmed the Syrian government's efforts to support the educational and teaching process in the country, particularly in the areas attacked by terrorist gangs and disrupted citizens' daily life over the last 2 years. With this, we end our news for today. Thank you for watching. For more details about Syria and the region and to view this bulletin again, you can always visit our website in English, syriaonline.sy. Now to latest business and market news with Vani Genjan, but after a short break.
Good afternoon. The Ministry of Domestic Trade issued a decree to form a pricing committee for 14 food materials and declare about the available quantities, costs, and proposed prices. On the other hand, the decree aims at setting the proposed price compared to the international prices in order to provide the citizens with the basic needs, with affordable prices and sufficient quantities. Governor of the Central Bank of Syria, Dr. Adib Mayal, asserted that the slump of the dollar's price in the Syrian market is due to the failure of the reasons that led to its climb, specifically the citizens' fears about the current crisis, indicating that the bank's procedures did not have any costs on the government's treasury. Moreover, the bank has sold a quantity of foreign currencies to the exchange companies in yesterday's session, which led to reducing the exchange rate of the dollar in the black market to reach below 170 Syrian pounds. The saving bank affirmed that it granted 1,258 loans with a total cost of 377 million Syrian pounds since the beginning of the month until the 20th of October. The bank added that it is still continuing to grant the loans to the workers, noting that the delay of granting some loans is due to the big sums of the presented requests, as the loan limit is 300,000 Syrian pounds. Brent crude oil fell for a third day as crude stockpiles rose in the United States, signaling reduced demand in the world's biggest oil consumer. Supplies in China climbed to a record in September. Futures dropped 0.6% as U.S. crude inventories increased by 3 million barrels last week. U.S. stock index futures declined, signaling the Standard & Poor's 500 index fall from a record after 5 days of gains. European stocks declined following the longest rally for the region's equities in 40 months. Japanese stocks also fell, with the Topix index slumping the most in 3 weeks. Gold fluctuated near the highest level in more than 3 weeks, as investors weighed speculation that the Federal Reserve may delay a reduction in stimulus until next year against signs of slowing demand in China. Gold for December delivery lost 0.4% to reach $1,337 an ounce. The yen climbed to the strongest level in 2 weeks against the dollar, as the benchmark rate for funds available in China's banking system jumped the most since July, spurring demand for safer assets. Japan's currency rose versus all of its 16 major counterparts. News. Thank you for watching and goodbye.